Let's get a start. All right. Hello, this is Fred Iantorno, and welcome to Tech Talk 360, sponsored by AirPro Diagnostics. I want to thank Lonnie Margot, Michael Quinn, Josh McFarland, and Team AirPro for making this possible. Our goal is to present topics that you won't normally see in other webinars. Tech Talk 360 is presented approximately every other month. The next webinar will be held on January 29th, 2025, so mark your calendars. Now I'd like to turn things over to our two great hosts, Jordan Hendler and George Avery. George, you want to start us off?
Sure. Thank you very much, Fred. I appreciate the intro and certainly appreciate AirPro sponsoring this because it's a good thing. Got a great show today. Welcome, Jordan. Glad to see you again. Although I saw you just recently at CIC, it is always good to hear from you and to see you as well.
Yeah, same. So,
Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, do you want to give a little bit about yourself?
I was going to let you go first. I was
Oh.
trying to be polite. My mom might be on, and I just want to make sure she knows I'm behaving. So
Fair. Well, and I appreciate it, George. This is always one of my favorite things to do. So, welcome everybody. I'm Jordan Hendler. I am the administrator for the Collision Industry Conference, as George just alluded to. And I have an administrative company who also works with Society of Collision Repair Specialists, and am the executive director for Washington Metro Auto Body Association. So I will be representing the collision side, or repairer side of the conversation today. And George, I'll let you give your introduction, and we'll keep rolling.
All right, and then we'll get into the antitrust. So George Avery, for those of you who don't know, I was past chair of CIC and past chair of the National Auto Body Council, and retired from one of the larger insurance companies about 8 years ago. And when you retire, it's hard to get a day off. But I've been pretty active and certainly very supportive of CIC. So make sure you go to CIC. The other thing is I started the Insurance Roundtable, which is an opportunity for insurers to get some additional detail. And that's been very successful. And we're excited to close our first year. So with that, I hope you are all ready to go. We've got a great presentation for you today. But of course, the first thing we need to do is get our antitrust statement out of the way. And as you know, you hear me say this every time, that does need to be read out loud. As participants of this webinar, we need to be mindful of the constraints of antitrust laws. There shall be no discussion of agreements or concerted actions that may restrain competition. This prohibition includes the exchange of information concerning individual prices, rates, coverages, market practices, claim settlement practices, or any other competitive aspect of the an individual company's operation. Each participant is obligated to speak up immediately for the purpose of preventing any discussion to fall outside this bounds. And the way you would do that, Jordan, is obviously using the Q&A function that we have versus the chat. So could you cover that real quick to give them some guidelines on how to use Q&A?
Sure. So while we're participating in the webinar, and especially while our guest is giving his presentation, we have the Q&A feature live. So there's a button on your screen. You can click the Q&A. The chat might be there for attendees as well, but just so you guys know, we're not monitoring that. So you can say hi to everybody if it's available to you or not. But if you put a question into Q&A, and you might not be the only one to ask a similar question, so I may end up pairing questions. I may interrupt while Kelly's speaking to ask the question, or we may hold it for the end. So just so you know, we're watching that. And if your question hasn't come up yet, our goal is to get to as many as we can before the end of the webinar so that we can make sure everybody gets their questions answered.
Sometimes we get hung up with a couple of questions when we get toward the end of the presentation, and Jordan and I try to do our best to get back to you. If you have one out there that got hung up and we know who you are, we'll probably reach out to you. We also have a little post-game deal that we do. So Jordan and I kind of visit about the presentation about 5 or 10 minutes before the end. So make sure you hang around for that because that's always fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
We've got a great presentation. Kelly Logan is here from Rivian. I've known Kelly for quite a while, and I'm pretty excited. And he has got a wide swath of experience that he has, and that's up on the screen right now. And of course, you obviously can see his bio. I believe the bio is on the recorded side, but if not, you got what you need here. And like I said, I've had a chance to meet with Kelly on a number of occasions and is certainly impressed with what he does and what he can do. So welcome. And Jordan, any comments? Otherwise, I think we might just turn it over to Kelly. I will say, I drove the motor coach to CIC, and on the way there and back, I saw a lot of Rivians, a lot of them.
Great, great.
I really thought that was interesting. Not that I was expecting something different, but it was just pleasant to see so many of your cars out there. And I saw the R1T, of course, and then I saw the S too. The
SUV.
Yeah, that's a good looking car. So, well, with that, Jordan, anything to add before we let Kelly get started?
No, I know from the collision repair side, like I've known Kelly a really long time too. I even heard rumors about him before I met him in person when he was at the Tesla program side. But like I do get a lot of questions about Rivian and what they're doing in the marketplace and what that means for collision repairs. So I'm excited for what he's presenting. I'm going to hold my questions to the end as well. And I think with that, Kelly, we'll let you get to it. And yeah, just throw your finger up when you're ready to change lights.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan and George and Fred. I appreciate being asked to be on the show this morning. It's always great to be able to connect with people out in the industry. Appreciate AirPro sponsoring this. When we look at the industry and how it's changed over the years, I joke all the time with people, but it's not really a joke. It's the truth. Like, it used to be easy to fix cars, and now we are we're at a point in the automotive industry where, like, you really have to know what you're doing to fix cars properly, and not just EVs like Rivian, just any car that comes into your shop every day, whether it be calibrations or scans or just following up and making sure that you understand what the vehicle's made out of. So you can go to the next. When we look at the presentation today, I just wanted to cover a couple different things. Obviously, we will talk about our different networks and what Rivian's doing to make sure that we can get our vehicles fixed out in the real world. But I also wanted to cover and go over some of our vehicles for people that maybe aren't fully aware of what we're doing and what we have on the road today. We'll talk about the different types of technology that are in our vehicles and show just kind of a quick overview of what makes Rivian different. Our vehicles are awesome. I do own a Rivian R1T pickup. I'm actually on my second one, and it is a great vehicle. Not just because not just because I work for the company. Just I truly enjoy driving it, and I do use it. So I pull a trailer, and I've gone on road trips and went through everything you would go through with a normal ICE vehicle. And then briefly, the third topic, just talk about one, our networks, but also like what Rivian has, like our partner portal, how we access our service information, talk a little bit about our ride diagnostic tool on how we get our vehicles repaired. So perfect. We'll go into our models now. So Rivian launched our vehicles, or announced our vehicles during the 2018 LA Auto Show. We revealed the R1T pickup and the R1S SUV. We now, just in about June of this year, we launched our second gen of our R1T and R1S vehicles. So Rivian launched the R1T pickup in September of 2021. And so we're just over 3 years now that the R1T has been on the road. The R1S came very shortly thereafter in early 2022. So the vehicles that we started with and what we're actually building today, why they look very similar, actually underneath they're quite different. So when we look at the first gen vehicle, we call it the first gen R1T and R1S. When we look at the body structure, the wiring schematics in the vehicle, everything has really been changed. But when you look at these vehicles, you really can't tell the difference other than the headlights and the taillights, and you really have to get kind of close to understand that. So that's something that, from a repair perspective, right, is going to be critical, that you look at the repair procedures to understand, are you working on a first gen vehicle or a second gen? Go to the next slide. And also something that makes Rivian unique is we actually produce commercial vehicles as well. So we are currently producing delivery vans for Amazon, and also too we'll be launching here very soon where we will be selling the vans to other companies as well. So the vans are definitely a unique aspect of an electric vehicle startup. We are both in the passenger vehicle segment and as well as the commercial vehicle segment. When you look at these vans and you look at the last mile delivery kind of industry, EVs really do make a lot of sense from the perspective. A lot of people don't really realize that when you look at these delivery companies that are out delivering packages every day, they have a very defined route that they stick to, and typically that route is about a 30-mile like one-way trip out, and then 30 miles back. So you're looking about 60 miles of a total trip. And so from an EV perspective, that is something that range isn't going to be really an issue. Also too, just from an efficiency and like maintenance, when you look at an electric vehicle in general, there is so much less maintenance that you have to do on that vehicle. There's, you don't have oil changes, you don't have a lot of the things that from a preventative maintenance perspective, you don't have those costs. Of course, with any EV, you have obviously a coolant system that runs antifreeze. You've got a brake system that runs brake fluid. There is oil in the drive unit, in the transmission of the EV's drive unit, but those typically run over 100,000 plus miles between changes. So really, from the perspective of EVs in the commercial vehicle industry, it makes a lot of sense. And something that Rivian announced this year is our next generation of vehicles. So R2, which is going to be a smaller mass-produced SUV, is something that Rivian is working very hard currently behind the scenes, getting ready to launch that in 2026. This will be a smaller SUV, more compact SUV, very affordable. In the sub $50,000 range, where we're able to attract a much larger audience. But still, really, when you look at the R2, it really still has that kind of Rivian look as well. And then, yeah, you can go. When we look after R2, we also have the R3 coming. So the R2 and R3 will share the similar lower platforms. And so the R3 is a very unique vehicle. You can see it has some kind of retro look to it from fans of VWs back in the 80s and 90s. They are going to have the R3X, which is going to have some all-wheel drive capabilities. So really a lot of excitement with both the R2 and the R3 vehicles. And this is something that will help Rivian grow significantly in the market. And we also look at having this vehicle go global and go into other markets around the world. And we'll get into talking about the technology in our vehicles and some of the things that make them unique. I think when we look at the platform of our vehicle, the R1T and the R1S, both the first gen and second gen, actually are a true full frame vehicle. It's definitely a unique body structure. It's basically like kind of a unibody upper body onto a full frame ladder frame. And so when we look at in Rivian terms, we call the upper body the top hat, and then the frame we call the skateboard. So you have the top hat and skateboard. Those two are married together during the construction of the vehicle in the factory in Normal, Illinois. But when we look at the platform here, it includes the drive unit, suspension, the thermal, just from the cooling systems for the battery and drive units. We actually too, with Rivian vehicles, we've got coolant that runs through different control units actually in the vehicles. So some of the control units that run a lot of the electronics in the vehicles actually are liquid cooled. So that is definitely something you want to take in consideration when you're purging coolant after replacing a radiator or something on a Rivian vehicle, the last thing you want to do is have a airlock in one of our control units within the system and burn that system up. So these are definitely real world scenarios that can happen. But when we look at the vehicle overall, when Rivian launched the R1T and R1S in 2021 and 2022, the quad motor vehicle, which had 4 motors, has 835 horsepower. We have a vehicle coming out here next year that will have over 1,000 horsepower. So a lot of fun to drive, a ridiculous amount of torque. I think that's something that a lot of people, when you look at electric vehicles, a lot of people have preconceived notions, especially if they've never driven one. One of the best parts of driving an EV is just the instant power and torque that you have at your feet. And so when we look at something too with Rivian that's unique is they really are designed to go off-road. There's been a lot of effort with the suspension, ground clearance. We're able to ford water. And so these are definitely unique aspects of Rivian that are unique to our brand. So we talk about some things that are definitely unique. Rivian suspension is very unique from the perspective that it's kinetic and it's on airbags as well. So it's hydraulic over air ride. So when we look at how the vehicle handles, it's amazing. This vehicle you can drop all the way down in sport mode and go out to the track, or you can go off-road and go in off-road mode and basically have 14.6 inches of travel. So a very large range of travel depending on how the vehicle, what you're doing with the vehicle. For the most part, we have an option called all-purpose, which you put that in all-purpose mode, and you have the option to put it in automatic. So as you're driving down the interstate, if you're going on a trip or something, the vehicle will actually automatically lower to a lower setting for more aerodynamics. So very, very unique suspension. Both the R1S and R1T only come with the kinetic suspension. So there's literally no other option today for that type of suspension. And it's something that you definitely need special tools. You need the diagnostic tool to be able to repair this during a repair scenario. Obviously, as everybody knows on the call, in the collision industry, suspension gets damaged. Frequently, it's something that is just something that goes along with collisions. And so it's definitely important to understand having the right equipment and the right tooling to be able to do the job properly. I think that's probably something that I would say from looking at other vehicles on the road, just with Rivian's capabilities with the off-road and on-road, the suspension definitely, creates just options where for a repair, they're going to have to either send the vehicle out to service to be fixed or have the right equipment on site, which is something that we're working with our certified centers to have that equipment on site. The air springs, we talk about the air springs, that's something that is the ride quality. When you're going down the road, the R1T pickup that I have is one of the nicest vehicles, riding vehicles I've ever owned. Again, having that 14.6 inches of travel, it's really crazy to see that vehicle be able to adjust that many that far up or down, but still really have a very high quality ride quality. You can also choose to stiffen the suspension up or soften it. So there's a lot of optionality within the suspension settings on how you want to have that feedback coming back from the roads. Again, having that automatic setting as well, just going on trips where you don't even realize all of a sudden the vehicle lowers, and it really does help with the efficiency in trying to get the most miles per charge when you do go on a road trip. Yeah, so The new vehicle coming out very soon with the 1,025 horsepower is going to have the capability to go 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. I have not had the pleasure to drive one of these yet, but I do in my R1T pickup with 835 horsepower. It can go 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and that is a blast to drive. So I can only imagine how much you shave another half a second off, how much more fun that will be. You can see in the picture here on the right, it's set up in sport mode. So if you're going to go to the track and want to do some launch modes where you get the full potential out of your vehicle, putting it in sport mode and being able to launch is definitely a lot of fun. You know, it's maybe a little bit hard on your tires over the life of the vehicle. Another thing that's unique about Rivian is when you look underneath the vehicle, obviously we have the HV battery underneath, but we actually have a lot of protection under the battery. Something that I have been pleasantly surprised and not complaining at all is we really don't see that much damage to HV packs on Rivian vehicles because they do sit higher. And they do have a lot of protection. So when you look at the under shields of the vehicle, you can actually change the undershield on the HV pack. So if you were off-roading and happen to damage the bottom of the shield on a rock or something, you can actually replace that part. So it's great from a customer perspective, especially from an insurance perspective as well, when not having to replace or see damage to these HV packs very often. Obviously, with the technology and everything today, the HV batteries, you know, they're not inexpensive, but we just don't really see a lot of damage to them just because of how high our vehicles sit. You know, when we look at Rivian vehicles, another great function of our vehicles is our ADAS systems. And a nice thing too for our customers, and especially collision repair that are going to be repairing our vehicles, every Rivian comes with a full suite of ADAS functions. So we got cameras, sensors, you know, brake and steering control, motor control. So every vehicle has the same options. So that definitely helps when we go from a repair perspective. Obviously, this is something that for the repairers on the call, you guys do repair vehicles every day. And sometimes, right, just understanding what options the vehicle have is a challenge. And so that's one perspective I do appreciate that Rivian has taken, that we just have, we have every vehicle built has all of the same function. When we look at the Gen 1 and Gen 2 vehicles, they actually changed the camera locations, they changed the sensors. And so it is definitely different. When you look at little subtle changes that you may not notice when looking at a Gen 1 versus Gen 2, but the original Gen 1 vehicles actually had cameras on the fender flares on the front fenders. So if you go to replace a fender or blend a fender after replacing a hood or a door, you know, that's something that you have that camera to take in consideration. On the Gen 2s, they actually relocated that camera to the door mirror. So the door mirror on Gen 2s actually have more cameras on them. And so again, these are just differences that you're going to see out there on the vehicles. And again, just goes back to reading the repair procedures and understanding what vehicle you actually have in your shop. And yeah, something that's really cool with Rivians, just like most connected cars in the road on the road today, is we have the functionality to do over the air updates. The R1T that I bought in in actually December of 2021, compared to what my vehicle is today, is in November of 24, is actually a completely different vehicle. They have added functionality over time with over-the-air updates. And so one of the things that was a cool update here a few months ago was the avoiding blind spots. So when you turn your blinker on, it'll actually pop on, and you can see in the picture here, it'll actually pop on the camera on the fender flare or the door mirror, depending on the vehicle you have. And it helps you see if there's anyone in your lane. Obviously, you can see too with the radars, it lets you know if there's a vehicle coming up behind you. So I can, definitely tell you this is something that really you get used to in driving every day, and then you get in another vehicle and you're like, wait, I don't know about people on the call, but I have become a way worse person that can park a vehicle without a 360 camera. You definitely get spoiled when you have the ability to see all around you, and then you get into a vehicle that doesn't. Especially when I travel, I get in a rental car. I was just acknowledging the other day I was in a rental car with a colleague, and they were making fun of me because I was struggling. I was on the struggle bus trying to park. So anyway, definitely the new technology makes life easier, and it makes it safer to drive as well. Awesome. So we're going to get into kind of the different networks that Rivian has developed over the last couple of years. We'll kind of talk about our service information. This is something that I started at Rivian in May of 2020. I was about the number 5 person hired in the service organization. So hired on very early. This is my 3rd EV startup. I will tell anyone, and I'm sure folks that have heard me speak before, I will tell anyone they are kind of addictive. I really wasn't looking to join another EV startup when Rivian came knocking, but I got the opportunity to actually work with a lot of folks that I've worked with over my career, and have a lot of trust and respect for the different people. And so I have no regrets. I would say Rivian has by far been the best company I've worked at. And when we started down this path of having a certified network, I will admit I didn't have a lot of experience in the commercial vehicle space. This is something that, right, people talk about fleets, whether it be a van or just even a normal passenger vehicle that's used in large numbers at companies. There's definitely differences. And so when we started, we're like, oh, we'll just have one program, certified collision centers, and they'll just do everything. Very quickly, we realized that was not going to be really sustainable. Because there's differences. Rivian vans are very tall. You need about 9 feet 7 inches of clearance to be able to get them into a paint booth. Typical passenger vehicle paint booths that everyone has at their locations, the doors are usually 9 feet tall. So we're like, okay, well, maybe we can get around it because maybe we can put some of those Goonie wheels or smaller wheels on the van, and we'll be able to just get it tucked into that paint booth. We worked with Goonie and they gave us their CAD, and we did all the studies, and they're like, yep, no way. You could literally try to just drive the vehicle in on the brake rotors and it still wouldn't fit. So our vehicles on the fleet side, if you wanted to be a Rivian Certified Fleet Center, you have to have a commercial height paint booth. So commercial height paint booths typically have about 10-foot doors or higher, typically with 12 to 14 feet ceilings. It just really ranges on the particular paint booth. But our vans are tall, they're large, so you just need to have that. And so that's kind of how we split the program initially is, all right, well, we have shops that are more than capable to fix our passenger vehicles. They're just not able to do our fleet vehicles. And so we started the Rivian Certified Fleet Center program. This is something that specializes, obviously today we have our Amazon vans on the road. And now with the Rivian RCVs, which is, RCV stands for Rivian Commercial Vans. The commercial vans, are literally the same van, minus some different parts just from an Amazon perspective, but it's really the same vehicle. And so there's going to be a need to have this fleet network out there. When we look at Rivian vehicles and the suite of ADAS functions that we have, this is something that they require calibrations during repairs. Now, I will say over time we have evolved and looked at how does calibrations make sense in every aspect, and that's just sometimes the joy and also the pain part of when you run this fast. The ongoing joke within the team is we're building the airplane as we're flying it, and so we have removed calibration requirements. We have done different things as we've evolved and as we've learned. And so one thing that we learned very quickly, though, is while we want our certified centers to have calibration capabilities, sometimes it's just not physically possible. So when you look at the space requirements, Rivian's unique in some aspects where we do require multiple targets to be calibrated at the same time. When you compare to other vehicles out there, they don't. So having some of these requirements requires more space. And so we just were running into kind of a problem where the collision centers in most instances didn't have a problem buying the equipment, but they literally just didn't have the space to do those calibrations at their locations. Especially, I always think about the Northeast when you get up into the New York City area and Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island. A lot of those locations, they're very, very restricted on square footage. And so in some of these instances, these shops would literally have to empty their shops to do a calibration. And that's just not realistic. And we understand that. So we started the Rivian Calibration and Diagnostic Centers last year in about January of 23, and really just are looking for shops with the capability to do just calibrations and also scans and to be able to support shops out there. I think the unique thing with the Calibration and Diagnostic Center is this allows our vehicles to get repaired at non-certified centers, which is not a problem. We do have unrestricted parts. That's one of the advantages, obviously, with the certification, is we unlock the restricted parts, but obviously that comes with the cost of tooling and training and making sure that you're capable and confident to do those repairs. But also too, like if you need to change a hood or change a bumper, we do sell those parts to collision centers out there that are not in our programs, but those will require calibrations in some instances. And so having this the RCDC program, we like to use acronyms at car companies. That's just not unique to Rivian. I think it's all car companies. But the RCDC program allows us to work with partners that aren't necessarily a collision center. There's, as everyone very aware in the industry, right? There's a lot of these calibration companies popping up everywhere, which is great because the vehicles out there need this work done. But it allows us to have an option for a non-certified collision center to be able to get their Rivian calibrated during a repair. And there's not that hesitation. I mean, it's something that if your competitor down the street is certified and they have that calibration equipment, you're just not typically really excited to send work to your competitor. And I totally understand that. And so that was another reason why we looked at the calibration program, is this allows us to still give options for folks that aren't in our network to still get to do proper repairs. So a lot of questions always come up about the program. How do I find out about more information? How do I apply? So this link right here that I have on the screen, this is how you can apply to be a Rivian certified collision in one of the networks. We actually have a number of programs, like I just talked about. We've got the Certified Collision Center, the Certified Fleet Center, the Diagnostic Center. We do have a program called the Collision Vendor Program. That's more of a B2B program where that allows us to work with collision centers to do some like pre-delivery repairs, or if we have some light damage that we need done from transportation. That program's a little bit more selective, where we're really looking from a targeted location that's close to our service center. So that's something that, right, we wouldn't bring on a collision vendor that is not close to a service center. It also, from that perspective, the collision vendor program, it's not technically a certification. It's really just a relationship that allows us to get our vehicles repaired. Just for clarity on that, if people had questions. But this link will take you to that application. You literally can fill it out on your phone, take a couple pictures walking around the shop, and then you can submit it. And this is something that is easy to do. And we encourage everyone to apply, even if you're just wanting to learn a little bit more details. We have a regional team out there that we've got 4 regions in the North America currently. So depending where you live, the regional managers will reach out and kind of discuss the program with you to get a little bit more details. I know there's sometimes there's a little bit of frustration. Hey, I applied, but I never heard back. The team does send out like emails typically if to let the shops know, like, hey, at this time we have enough capacity in our markets, and we'll definitely keep you in mind for as we grow in the future. Rivian's program is selective, and so we don't onboard every single shop that applies. The program is not inexpensive. You have to meet our facility requirements. There's a tooling requirements. There's training requirements. So these are things that to be in any of our networks, we do have these requirements. There's an annual fee. So we are aware. We want to make sure that the shops in our network are making their return on their investment. And so this is something that we do take seriously. And I know sometimes it's frustrating for shops because there's a lot of excitement about the brand, which makes me happy, but also too, right? Like we want to make sure that we don't overload the network where it just makes it the shops are not getting that return on their investment. And really, to be honest with you, like the certified network was never designed to fix every single vehicle out there. It's just that's unrealistic. That's why we have unrestricted parts. If you have a customer that needs a tailgate and you're a non-certified shop, you can easily reach out to Rivian and we can get you set up to buy parts. We can get you it does cost, but you can pay to get access to our service information and even our diagnostic tool. So these are things that we do still support folks that aren't in our networks. We still want to make sure our customers are getting taken care of. So something that just started this year is our Authorized Service Provider program. This is something that is for our fleet vehicles only today, but we're actually out there recruiting third-party service centers, mechanical shops to be able to do mechanical repairs on our commercial vehicles, on our vans. So this is something that as everyone on the call is more than likely from the collision industry, an OEM certified collision program is something that everyone really has a pretty good grasp on today. Even if you don't know all the nuances, you get the basic premise of what the program is. When you look at the independent service industry, outside of franchise dealers, you look at these independent service shops. Kind of an OEM program like this really hasn't existed before, right? Like as an independent service shop, you're not usually getting an OEM approaching you to say, hey, we can set you up. You have to buy some tooling and attend training, but we can set you up to actually do warranty work. That's handled by the local dealer of that particular brand. And so we are growing the network as we speak. I think we currently have just over 10 partners. And so that's a network that we're growing. We're looking obviously where our delivery vans are located today, and that's where we're really targeting. And so again, we're very upfront with anyone that applies. Like if we don't have vehicles in your market and it doesn't make sense, we're going to tell you that. The last thing that we want is people to spend a bunch of money and then not have vehicles come in their door. Because one, it's a waste of money, but two, right, you spend all that money for training, you get your guys ramped up, and then they don't use those skills. It's something that you lose over time. That's definitely important to us. But really, the Authorized Service Provider Network, we train the technicians. There's both online training and instructor-led training. We look at the facilities. We want to make sure that we get a lot of people that apply for our Fleet Center program and even the ASP program, the Authorized Service Program, where they apply. And then we look at their facility and their doors aren't even tall enough to pull our vans in there. So again, these are things that we look at. We do care. We want to make sure that our partners are set up for success. And then also too, like making sure that you get access to our parts. So Rivian is a direct sales OEM. So when you order parts for your Rivian that's in your shop, you're actually ordering it from us. And so we make sure that you have that support from getting, if you're not sure which parts you need, I have a team behind the scenes that's there to support you to help you with that. And also, obviously, just like the certified networks with the Authorized Service Provider Network, we do unrestrict the high voltage and airbag components in this program, because the shops do have the training, they do have the tooling to be able to work on the vehicles. Another advantage with this is, as our vehicles age, this kind of prepares these shops to be able to work on our vehicles. This program is not yet for our passenger vehicles, but over time, I'm sure that will change as we grow. So we do have a separate application link, just because, when we look at the Authorized Service Provider Network, the requirements are different. And, we do have some collision centers that have service capability in our program. So I would definitely, if that's something that interests you and you have the capacity to do service work, the link here is to apply. And I can share the links with Jordan and George and Fred to make sure that that this information gets out there after our presentation. So when we look at our certified networks today, we're at 390 total rooftops. We have a number of shops that actually do multiple programs. So when you start adding them up, it's actually I think over 500 if you looked at individual programs. So if you looked at the Certified Collision Center, if you look at the Certified Fleet Center, the calibration program, you start having obviously more just from that perspective. But total rooftops, we've got 390. The Certified Collision Network team at Rivian has been working extremely hard in 2024. We have essentially doubled our size of our network in a matter of 12 months. And so, we're on track to well over 400 locations by the end of the year, which I'm super proud, to be part of the program here, because, that's one of the biggest challenges when you do restrict parts, is just making sure you can get these vehicles repaired out there. And so, and it's one thing to get one location up and running, but then obviously we like to give our customers choices as well. So that's the other challenge, is like, how do we make sure that we give the customers choice, and so they feel like they have options. And that's, and a lot of times in large markets, it's not a problem. In smaller markets, right, it's sometimes not realistic. So there's always a fine line or fine balance that we walk here with the growth of the network. So we'll run into real quickly on the service manuals, our parts catalogs, diagnostic tool, and our support team. So Rivian has what we call the partner portal, and this is how we do training for this is how the third parties can access service information, parts, the parts catalog. Pretty much everything that you need to be able to repair the vehicle is located within the partner portal. And I don't know, is the video playing? Jordan, I think let's start. It's not a big deal. So one of the things, here we go. So with this partner portal, we also have online training on how to use our systems. And so this here is just walks you through, like, how do you use the partner portal as when you first get on. So these are some of the training requirements that we have for our certified networks as well. But also too, like, if you choose to buy access to service information and our diagnostic tool, if you're non-certified, you also get access to some of the training online training courses that we have available. Using the partner portal, this course here is definitely part of that availability. And so it really gives you just kind of it's as simple as it seems, something that I've experienced in my career working with at different car companies and working with collision centers is a lot of times people assume, oh yeah, everyone knows how to do the most basic things, right? Everybody knows how to go in the partner portal and figure out which vehicle to order parts for. And then you get out in the field and you realize, oh wait, this, like, it's not as, maybe the information isn't flowing down to the right people that you thought it was. And so we do have requirements for our certified network where we do track who's been trained at your location, who's done the basic training. And so we do have online training requirements as well as instructor-led requirements for our certified shops. And so just is like, hey, we need to know to be efficient to fix our vehicles. And we have that capability through the online training portal. Again, with the partner portal, you're going to get access to all of our service information. Something that when we look at the repair procedures at Rivian, it's the you'll look at the procedures and the information is there, but there's a, and so something that we preach constantly to our shops is you have to go research, you have to go look in the general repair guidelines of our vehicle, and it'll actually give you a ton of information. So, you know, trying to put all of the information in all of the repair procedures, you run into a ton of redundancy. Just you'd be repeating the same information over and over and over again, especially like changing a quarter panel versus changing a rear body panel. Like there's going to be a lot of overlap on how we want the welds prepped, how we want everything to what you need to do prior to welding, even, you know, approved welders. So when we look at how you lay out the service manual, we have the repair guidelines and then we have the repair procedures. And so that's something that the technicians really need to do their homework. They need to do some studying up on our vehicles and what we expect and how they're supposed to be repaired. All that information is here, and it's in the service manual through the partner portal. Again, the parts catalog is there as well. So this is something that you can access by vehicle. We prefer you use the VIN when you go to order the parts, so we make sure that you have the right parts for that VIN. But all the information is all captured here in the partner portal. And then the diagnostic tool. So at Rivian, our diagnostic tool is called RIDE, which is Rivian Diagnostic Engine. That's what RIDE stands for. And so that's something that I feel like is awesome for our shops and the technicians out there fixing our vehicles. Everything that you need to do to repair that vehicle is located on the partner portal. Whether you need to jump into the repair procedures, you need to look at make sure if the part you're replacing is the right part, or if you need to run pre-scans, post-scans, need to run some routines to make sure that the parts that you replace are functioning properly. All of that is part of the partner portal, and the RIDE diagnostic tool is there for your support. And this just shows kind of more detail on RIDE, whether you're connected to the vehicle, not connected to the vehicle, the number of ECUs it can see. It gives you a wealth of information. And again, these are things that we have online training classes. We also go over it in our instructor-led training courses that we offer. So we really dive deep into the vehicle to make sure that the technicians understand like how to operate these vehicles properly, or operate the diagnostic tool, excuse me. So another awesome part of being at Rivian, and whether you're certified or not, is you can actually get support from live human beings. So we actually have 3 different ways. You can email, you can call, and you can actually chat. And so there is you can see in the bottom right, there's a start a live chat function. And this is something that is, you're actually talking. The chat function is not a bot. It is a person behind the scenes that actually would answer the phone. But so if you wanted to chat, you could do that, or call, or email. So we do have a number of ways that you can create a ticket to be able to get that support. We have a general support team that can help you find the right parts, or help you reset a password, or if you're having issues, any type of issue, of invoice issue, you can reach out. We also have a diagnostic team that if you're struggling with using ride or something's not making sense or the vehicles, you're not getting DTCs to clear, you can actually talk to a real live technician that can do these repair, that knows the Rivian vehicle inside and out, and they'll be able to support you that way. So there's a lot of support behind the scenes that we have in place for the shops out there fixing our customers' vehicles. We are also, Rivian is part of the OEM roundtable, and we do have our information out there on the OEM One Stop website. So just wanted to throw that out there, that there is a ton of information on OEM One Stop. We have a lot of our position statements and a lot of information that even if you don't have access today to our service information, you can at least get an idea what it's going to take. Obviously, you're going to need access to our service information to do a proper repair, but this at least would give you an idea of what you're looking at if a Rivian vehicle comes in to your shop. This is one example. We have the position statements for driver plus calibration. So our ADAS systems, what we call it is driver plus. And so when you look at what do I need to calibrate after you do a vehicle repair, we have that information on the website. So this is definitely something that, again, it can help at least help you understand if, say, you're not a certified shop and you have a vehicle that comes in, you'll have an idea of what like this would take. And also too, like it's for the insurance industry as well. They can go there and get this information very easily without access to our service information. And again, we are in two major estimating providers systems. We're in CCC as well as Mitchell. And so we do try to make it as easy as possible. This is something that's always a challenge at startups, is just getting the amount of information you have to have on hand to get information into the estimating systems is immense. And a lot of the times what we ran into at Rivian is just that information just didn't exist, or enough of it didn't exist. So we were playing catch up, but we definitely excited to have our information out there. It makes it easier for everyone involved to get our vehicles repaired. And writing manual estimates is extremely painful. So thank you. I know I'm running up on time, but I appreciate everyone that joined the call here just to listen to learn a little more about Rivian and our programs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Hey, Jordan, do you have a couple of questions? I have three. By the way, Kelly, when you put your slide up with the United States and had all the spots, they were color coded, and we did get a question about what the color codes meant. I didn't know if that's something you could answer just real quickly, but
yeah. So that one was that we have a map we use internally, and that identifies the RCDCs, the calibration centers, the certified centers, the dual certifieds. And then we also have Rivian service centers. So if you see the little yellow compass, those are where we have service centers. And then I'm not going to lie, I don't remember the colors right offhand, but that just helps us identify, like, this is where we have coverage for what vehicle and what capability that potential or that particular location has.
Appreciate it. Jordan, you want to go ahead? I had three questions.
I'll let you start with one, and because actually Kelly did such a great job, he answered two of mine that I had already written down.
I know.
So I'll let you start with yours, George, and then I'll reframe one of mine.
Okay. First of all, I appreciate the top hat and the skateboard. So I am going to work that into any conversation I can at a cocktail party. So
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'll practice that offline. Real quick, you mentioned calibration. That is a big issue. ADAS out there is big everywhere. Are you working to help create the times or the recommendations on the ADAS on the Rivian?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, George. So that is probably one of our biggest challenges today, is just we are seeing a lot of variables in what people are charging for calibrations out there and the times that are out there. And so I do have a research and development workshop in El Segundo, California, which is about 12 minutes from the LAX airport. And so we today, the only approved ADAS calibration tool that we use is the John Bean TruePoint tool. And we are in the process of reviewing what it takes to do these calibrations, what it, consistently, and we are going to be updating our position statement on our calibration position document. And that should be released here very soon, where we're just going to give some more guidance because, it's confusing. Even when you read procedures, sometimes it can get misconstrued. And so, obviously we want our vehicles repaired properly. And so we're going to give that guidance to the shops, to really everyone involved, our customers, to the insurance industry, to make sure, like, hey, this is what it takes to properly calibrate a vehicle. And I always get the question, well, what happens if it fails the calibration? I got to do this extra work. Totally understand that. Those are things that, if you have to do additional work, then you have to go back and do the additional work and do the calibration over again. So, we're right at the forefront, or we've probably already been there for a couple of years, but it just always takes a few years to get everyone caught up on speed. Which calibrations are not going away. Even there's dynamic calibrations that, you just drive the vehicle. That's great. We have that capability on some of our vehicles today. But if it's snowing, if it's raining, if there's things that, if it's windy and there's dust blowing and its visibility is poor, you're not going to be able to do those dynamic calibrations. So there's always going to be a need for static calibrations out there. And so, like, I always have these conversations with people like, oh, well, dynamic is just going to take care of everything. I agree that it is a huge help to be able to do a dynamic calibration, but it's not a foolproof, like, silver bullet that solves all our problems.
Real quick, just to tag on, can insurers reach out to you directly? I know you have some relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. So any insurance company is more than welcome to reach out. They can. We have an email address, aftersalesupport@rivian.com. They can email after sales support. They can actually call our 1-800 number to our service hotline, and they'll make sure and get us in touch with them. And we actually do work with insurance companies. We will give them access to our service information so they understand. We do get a lot of questions frequently about parts prices, and so we do share that information. So always happy to engage with any insurance partner, because again, we're just trying to make sure that everybody's on the same page and has the same information.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, Kelly. So, and I know one of the questions that we have in the Q&A pop-up is whether or not the network requires like iCar Gold as a base, or is the training requirements provided by Rivian? Like, if so, what does that kind of look like, summary version?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rivian has their own training requirements, and we have our own that we do internally. We do not require iCar Gold, but I definitely encourage it. So any training that you can get today to help you tomorrow is well worth it. Obviously, with EVs, I know iCar has a number of EV courses out there. But Rivian, when you join, like, we do have online training that you're required to do, and we do have instructor-led training that you're required to attend. And so those are the requirements that we have. We have a great relationship with iCar, but when we look at the industry as a whole, like, we have a lot of shops that do specialize in different OEMs that maybe not necessarily have iCar. And so that's always a fine line to walk, but that's something that we do not require that for the program today.
Understood. So I would tack on one thing that this is a personal, like, noticed thing about certified versus uncertified shops. And you don't necessarily have to speak to this, but I guess my hope would always be, especially for like mirrors and unrestricted parts that are very obviously going to require, some kind of level of diagnostic or calibration event to happen in conjunction, could something go with that part? Like, when that person signs up to get parts or a parts account, they're obviously, you guys know whether or not they're certified, uncertified. I always say this to everybody I have an opportunity to say is, can we notify that person? Can we let them know, like, hey, when you're touching this part on our car, there's going to be more required.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Jordan. I think when we look at the doing calibrations and selling unrestricted parts. It is an immense amount of work to restrict parts, and so I wish we lived in a world where we didn't have to. But you know, we are the industry is what it is, and you know, unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of people out there that think you can still fix a car the same way you did 30 years ago, and so when we look at parts orders and things, we really do encourage shops that are not certified to get access to our service information. We do have that information out there on OEM One Stop in hopes that, you know, the shop does the research. Now, you have to, like, if you replace a door mirror, you have to basically align the modules with the VIN number of that vehicle, and so the vehicle is going to know that the camera isn't paired. So those are going to be things that the customer is going to know when they get in the vehicle with that the calibration, something's not right on their vehicle. And so I would just encourage, like, Rivian is here to help. Even if you're not a certified shop, you can reach out, you can call, and we can help you get the right answers. And hopefully the shops do that. Take us up on that.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I know there was a couple questions about you did answer the restricted parts, that yes, there are some, and there's some other questions about the program. I just encourage whoever did ask those questions to reach out to you guys and look at the forum, and I'm sure there's questions can be answered. That's all the questions I have, George. I know that we're
we
at the
kinda-
hour now, so
Yeah, we
taking
ran
up.
out of time. I'm good.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Kelly, very much. Good
Yep.
information, and I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, really appreciate it's nice to always have insight, especially from direct from a manufacturer, and especially someone who understands what it means to put your hands on the vehicle. Also, like that, you're a wealth of knowledge, Kelly, and we appreciate you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Fred. 29th, you said, is the next one?
Yep, and I don't know, George, if we were gonna take 2 minutes for any
Yeah. I'm not-
armchair quarterbacking, or just
Well, it's up to you. With a OEM, and, you know, and there's not much to say unless there's, because Kelly did such a great job covering that. I like the fact that the insurer can reach out. One question I didn't ask him was on the vans, those panels that are replaced. I understood they come painted. I didn't know if that was true, but that was, but anyway, I really appreciated the information and the focus on getting the information to the right people. So that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, I might throw in just tip of the hat to our hosts, especially as you know, my understanding is AirPro can provide the remote diagnostic support for the
Yeah, that was the
Rivian.
other thing I was going to ask.
Yeah,
Is
throw that in there. And then yeah, I think it was all encompassing. Even if I got an extra 20 minutes, Fred, I still feel like I would say exactly what I said, even when Kelly was still with us, is that was really great insight. That's not something you can get every day. So I just appreciate being able to help that.
I thought it would be good for us to hear. And for
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
industry to hear. So great. Well, thank you guys.
All right. Well, have a great day.
Thank you, audience. And we'll, you know, see you back on the 29th of January.
All right,
Everybody have a good Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye
All right.
now.
Enjoy, guys.
Bye.